Oh,
That's different.
man, the Kyrie era in Brooklyn is over. Steph goes down with an injury, and the Clinic previews the NBA trade deadline. I'm Rosa Panta. This is the Clinic All NBA podcast. I have the three hooligans with me. JJ, how you living, my friend?
Woo! Feeling good, feeling great. How about you, my guys?
Man, I'm feeling good. John, how you living, my friend?
I am feeling good. Super Bowl weekend is upon us, and I'm hoping that Sammy's face, his smile, gets wiped off. I'm just kidding, Sammy. Go Chiefs.
Dang. That's cold-blooded. Sammy, how you living, my friend? Despite what John just said there.
Better before that, but it's Super Bowl week. I have a rooting interest in this game. The Clippers didn't trade for Kyrie. The Lakers didn't either, so I'm all good.
Yeah, man. And, we have some basketball news here. We have to talk about this Kyrie Irving saga here. And I kind of want to start this off with, how did we get here? How did we get to the trade? And basically, Kyrie Irving, he was wanting this contract extension. And there are reports saying that Kyrie Irving did get said offer, but it was tied to a championship. He needed to win a championship to get extended. I want to start with that. What do you guys think of the Nets offering, potentially, because these are reports, this contract to Kyrie Irving?
That offer screams to me, we want to save face and say we offered you a contract, but we don't want you to sign it at all. Because that's such a ridiculous tie-in to max out. Like, I've heard of incentives where players get bonuses for playoff accomplishments, but that's a whole level of extreme. And this thing felt like Josiah clearly didn't want to extend him if the reports that we heard about him afterward were true. And it just sounds like it was set up so that they could save face and say they made an offer, but I think the Nets were just ready to move on, and I don't blame them in the slightest personally. You guys?
It's funny because while I agree with Sammy that it's not true, in an informal way, if Kyrie Irving was part of the reason why the Nets won a championship, they probably wouldn't have tried to trade him, right? They probably would have extended him, just by the fact that that's typically what happens when you have players on a team. Typically, unless you're the Lakers, you win a championship and you get rid of half your roster. But I digress. So I think it's a little ridiculous, but I mean, you know what? It just this trade to me is just crazy. I have a lot more to say, but I'll throw it to JJ to get his thoughts first.
Yeah, who would have thought, fellas, like coming out of nowhere, like within the last week, that Dallas was interested, and the Nets, they're open about saying that they didn't want to trade to the Lakers due to personal reasons, which isn't a good business move. And as we all know, the NBA is a business, but we've seen this before where owners take it personal, players take it personal. So now it's just like, where do we go from here? Which Jun, as a host, I'm assuming that you want to talk about Dallas. What do you think about this Dallas trade right now, man?
So here's the details here. So the Mavericks are sending Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, an unprotected 2029 first round pick, and a second round picks in 27 and 29 to the Nets in exchange for Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris. And this, for the Mavericks, I want to say that I don't like the trade. I'm going to say I'm not a fan of this trade. The reason being is because we don't know what you're getting with Kyrie Irving. Like, you had a great point guard, a good point guard in Brunson not too long ago, and you could have signed him. You could have extended him, right? And they chose not to, and instead they went for someone who is like all-time confusing, dude. One of the most confusing NBA players that I've ever seen. And I want to get your guys' thoughts too. Do you guys agree with me here about the Dallas Mavericks side of this trade?
In terms of the fit, the best case scenario, fellas, if I had to have an analogy with this, would be the LeBron James Kyrie era 2016. Now, you have LeBron, and who, is sometimes like Luka's compared to LeBron sometimes, right? And you have Kyrie. They won a championship. So that would be a best case scenario. But there's a caveat with what I'm saying with this is that 2016 Cavs, they had great shooters. Richard Jefferson, above average 3-point shooter. Shumpert, above the average 3-point shooter. The Mavericks, I mean, right now, I don't think they have great shooters. And to top off, the Cavs defense, even though we consider that 2016 team like an offensive juggernaut, they were also underrated with their defense, ranked 9th, okay? The Mavericks right now, they're ranked 24th. And they just got that much worse by giving up Finney Smith. Another comparison that I wanted to give a shout out to would be the Harden and Chris Paul era. Two ball dominant players could be very similar. Harden is sometimes compared to Luka too. But with that team, they had shooters and a great defensive presence as well. So fellas, I'll go with Sammy first. Do you think that Luka and Kyrie could match those teams? Or at least stay competitive with their current construction on defense? Because offense is not the issue, right?
Correct. And to answer your question, no, but that's with a caveat. I don't think they're done. I think there's another move coming by Thursday because they have to replace Finney Smith's size and his defending ability. If you look at what they're left with on the roster right now, I don't know if they're actually expecting Markieff Morris to play. My assumption, honestly, is no, and that's no disrespect. He's just not a rotation player anymore. But you look at their size otherwise, you have JaVale McGee, you have Dwight Powell, Christian Wood, Davis Bertans. You're talking about a lot of players who, outside of McGee and a little bit of Kleber, there's not a lot of rim protection, there's not a lot of size, and they need to address that somehow. If they don't, then this is not a team that gets past the second round. I think their ceiling is the same as last year, but the thought is always, if you get your stars, it's easier to build around them. And in a sense, I could see that. But I'm with June on this also, just that I didn't like the trade, and defense and chemistry are the big two reasons why. The only other out I will give them that the Mavs gave themselves a little bit with this is if you look at the contracts they traded away and the fact that Kyrie, as of now, is a rental because there's no guarantee they're going to give him another contract. They actually cleaned up their cap sheet a little bit if they decide to do a little bit of a reset. If you look at next year's deals, Bertans is essentially an expiring contract. Bullock's deal isn't guaranteed. They've got some room to make moves if they want to. They're just depleted a little bit of assets. But to answer both of your questions, June, I am not a fan of this trade. Jay, the reason I'm not a fan of this trade is the defensive aspect and just obviously the chemistry flags of how are these guys going to share the ball and is Kyrie going to actually function there? John, what are your thoughts?
So, from a basketball standpoint, I don't really like it. I think they're both ball dominant players. I think if they stagger their minutes, I think they can be effective. I'll say that. I'll keep it short. But I think this goes beyond the basketball court because I think one of the things that Mark Cuban wants to do is he wants to appease Luka Doncic because he is the franchise, he is the cornerstone. And to me, this is more of a sign that says, hey, I'm still trying to improve the team. It may not work, it may work beautifully, but I'm willing to spend the money, I'm willing to take the risks, and I'm willing to get you help. It's clear that Kyrie is going to help offensively, right? He's going to be able to take the load off Luka in many facets, especially offensively. So that will appease him in that way. Will it appease him long term? Who knows? I mean, but I think it goes beyond basketball, like I said. It goes beyond the hardwood, and I think that this is a business move. Obviously, you're going to get more people interested in the Mavericks. Kyrie is a star. No way you cut it, slice it, put it. He's a star on the basketball court, despite all his antics. So I'll leave it at that. And I want to get, Ro, your thoughts on what you think of my assessment.
I think that Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, I think the minutes are probably going to be split and I think that takes a lot of the load off of Luka Doncic. So as far as like managing Luka's minutes and his usage, I think this is like a great move. But they're gonna have to score so many points, like just to win games. They're gonna have to score a lot of points. But like Sammy said, there could be a move coming next, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now with the Nets here, I'm gonna switch us to the Nets now. So they acquired DFS and also Spencer Dinwiddie and a bunch of picks. And apparently their plan is, with the picks that they acquired, they're looking to move those picks in hopes to improve the roster around Kevin Durant. And now I want you guys to kind of rate how the Nets did. How did they come out after this trade?
I mean,
I'll lead us off here. I think they actually did okay. I don't totally mind how they did in terms of on the opposite end of Dallas. That's actually going to be a very good defensive team now. If you look at the construction of who's on there, they've got a lot of 3-and-D wings. KD, for his own ability, is actually a very solid defender as well. Now that being said, this team is not a serious contender without another move themselves. And what I keep going back to, if the reports are confirmed and they seem reputable that they refused to deal Irving to the Lakers, I think that kind of vendetta and the fact that they were probably afraid KD would ask out is why they didn't take that Laker deal. And I mention that because those two picks we've been talking about, the 27 and 29 Laker picks, there's just so much uncertainty around the team then. I felt like those were the two best assets offered. And they did get offered some pretty solid deals. But I wonder if Josiah was just adamant he wasn't going to trade Irving there because that's what he wanted. And if they were also afraid KD was going to ask out. So I give them a B minus, but I don't think they took the best deal on the table personally. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't think they got the best trade, but I think they were obviously, it was a rush against the clock, right? I mean, the trade deadline is within less than 5 days away, so they had to move fast. And the closer you get to the trade deadline, the less leverage you have because you're against the clock and you have to trade him, otherwise you're going to lose him for nothing. So you got to do it sooner than later, and they probably just took the best deal that they could. I mean, I don't blame them for the deal, but to answer your question, they could have gotten a better deal most likely if they waited. But I think the risk was too great for them, so they opted against it.
Would you have taken the Lakers deal if you were the Nets, not as a Laker fan? And the Lakers deal, for since we didn't announce it outright, the rumored deal was Westbrook and the 27 to 29 first round picks.
I would have for the picks, and then also that's a lot of money coming off Westbrook's contract.
Right.
And depending if the Lakers were to offer Max Christie, who I think is actually a solid, the Lakers draft really well, despite what you say about them. They've actually gotten a lot of good players in this late first round, second round. Max Christie looks like he has a lot of potential, and Austin Reeves is turning into a good solid role player. So yeah, I mean, that would have been the one, but again, like you said, Josiah is petty, capital Petty, and I'm sure if there's anybody who Durant did not want to play with, even if it would just be for half a season, it's probably Russell Westbrook. So I'm not surprised.
Gotcha.
Yeah, with that situation, it's like who really didn't want this to happen? Was it Josiah or was it Kevin Durant? Because they both have reasons, right? But anyway, JJ, go ahead.
It has to be KD because who's the main superstar that you've been trying to keep happy, right? And to think about it, the whole net situation, I wanted to throw it back to you guys, but I want to say who's to blame. I mean, it's an unfair question, but who's to blame for this whole situation, man? Like, should KD have been more of a leader and say like, enough is enough? Hey, Kyrie, get your ass on the court and play. You're making us like play here. Is it the Nets organization for letting the superstars having too much power? Can you imagine that the three major superstars within the past 12 months have all requested a trade? Harden, KD, and Kyrie, right? And then you're thinking about what's been going on with like this whole situation with Kyrie. It's like they made this they waited till the last minute. Where like John just stated, like they're trying to beat the clock. And we all know that when you're trying to beat the clock, you're not going to get the assets that you want. So KD now has Dinwiddie and Ben Simmons as his duo or his trio instead of Kyrie and Harden. And I know that the Nets, we're talking about the Nets here, but I want to make out one last point, gentlemen, which is Kyrie. We talk about Kyrie, we talk about Dame a lot. June, who's Dame's best teammate ever?
Best teammate ever?
Yeah. Who would you say?
It's gotta
Probably
be
Aldridge.
Aldridge. Yeah, I would say LaMarcus Aldridge.
Okay, John, check this. Kyrie has played with LeBron, arguably top 3 of all time. Harden, top 25 on a lot of people's list. He's played with KD, top 15, at least, right? Tatum, up and coming. Jaylen Brown, up and coming. And Kevin Love, who's gonna make a case for Hall of Fame. Is Kyrie the problem?
Yes, next question.
I blame Kyrie.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he has his reasons and stuff like that, so blame is like a tough thing to really say.
Yeah.
It's more like Kyrie was like the reason for a lot of the turmoil on the Nets.
He's definitely a problem child. Yes, I think there's a trend, as you so eloquently put, JJ, listing all the names and stars and legends that he's played with. I do think, and this is not me defending Kyrie's antics, but this is putting it into perspective, that I do think he did the Nets a solid by saying, hey, if you don't trade me, I'm just gonna walk, because in that scenario, the Nets would have gotten nothing. So I think we have to give some slither of credit to Kyrie there.
And I want to just kind of present the 2 other trades on the board. Like, I know the Lakers one probably wouldn't happen because Josai or Kevin Durant probably would have blocked it. But with the Suns one, there was Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and a first-round pick. That was the offer. With the Clippers, it was Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, and a first-round pick and 2 swaps. Do you guys think that the Nets actually came out with the best deal, considering those 2 deals were also on the table?
The Nets should have taken the Clippers deal, so I can see Sammy's reaction.
Oh God, that we could have given up 3 future second round swaps, and I still wouldn't have been happy with that trade. To me, it depends on what were the Nets looking to accomplish. Are they looking to win now? Then you take either the Suns deal, I think, or the Mavs deal, and that depends on what you think of Chris Paul at this point. If you're looking to kind of rebuild and retool, then it's the Lakers trade or the Clippers trade, depending on what the Nets thought of Terrence Mann, which, to be frank with you, I was a little surprised was offered in this deal. I still think the trade was the Lakers trade, but I'm not totally mad at the return they got. So I don't think they lost necessarily, but they got better deals than honestly I expected them to, all things considered, from my end.
JJ, what do you think?
If I were the Nets, I would have took the Lakers trade. I mean, LeBron and AD, I don't see them playing in those years, those first round picks. So I would assume those picks would be pretty high. But maybe Pelinka knows what he's doing, right, John?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, no, maybe.
I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying maybe. That's it.
Nice.
I might just repeat maybe until I convince myself that maybe is maybe the right answer.
Well, only time will tell how this trade turns out. And I'm going to take us to our next topic here. Steph Curry is expected to be out through All-Star break. And, during a game, he ended up bumping knees with, I forget who it was on OKC, but ended up bumping knees. And apparently he has partial tears to his superior tibiofibular ligaments. And I wanted to ask you guys, like, how do we feel about the Warriors right now? I know they just won a game against OKC. With Steph Curry being out this long, how far are the Warriors going to drop down, or do you guys have confidence that they'll be able to kind of hold steady?
I mean, with this whole thing with the Warriors, it's like the metrics are there that they're about to go on this huge run. They've been dealing with these injuries. When they finally get a flow going, Jun, and you watch them on a consistent basis, like myself, it's like, all right, the Warriors could finally get something going, get a winning streak, and then something happens. And then now, when it's a very imperative time for them to get rolling, Steph Curry gets injured. But the thinking of a Warrior fan is the following: if there's anything that the regular season tells us, is that the Warriors just need to get in, and they did turn it on. The issue is, can they turn it on this year with all the turmoil that they went through? You have Jordan Poole, the Draymond incident. You have this mixture of the old trying to blend with the new roster, but they don't have any glue guys, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit with potential trade assets. And without the glue guys, you're not going to win, because the glue guys put it all together. So for me, this is just weird territory, because the Warriors are title contenders until they lose. They are the defending champions by default because they won last year. Will they have the opportunity to defend it during the playoffs is the question.
Yeah. To answer your question, that depends. The West is really tight, and everybody knows that the fourth seed, I don't have it in front of me, but the fourth seed and the 12 or 13 seed is probably separated by 3 to 4 games. And
4.5, yeah.
4.5. So you can fall considerably losing a handful of games, right? Yeah. And that's kind of unprecedented that I don't think we've ever seen a race this tight between 8 or 9 seeds. And you add that play-in component here, and you have a better chance now because there are 2 more spots to get in to possibly make the playoffs, but it's still really tight, and it's unfortunate because it's kind of happening in the home stretch here. Right after the All-Star break, there's going to be 27, 26 games left, and it really depending on how Steph Curry how he rehabs, how he comes back from this injury. I know it's not serious, but if the Warriors go kind of on a losing streak, which is totally possible without your best player, far and away your best player, I don't know. I would remain optimistic for JJ and Rowe and RJ because they're homies, but if I'm being honest, I'd still be a little skeptical if Steph Curry's out for an extended period of time. It all depends though. Jordan Poole can turn it on. If he plays the contract that he received, then he could keep them afloat. But that's a big ask, and I'm sure you guys can vouch for me, or at least vent if you would like. Sammy, I will defer to you before we go to Rowe.
That is a big if, John.
Yeah, based on the reaction of JJ in particular, I don't know exactly what Jordan Poole will be turning on. So I will say this: based on initial reports, it looks like Steph it's not going to be a too long-term an injury. His trainer is pretty optimistic. So I think the Warriors will be okay, but a big part of that is you never want to lose your best player. But here are the next 10. Portland, Lakers, Wizards, Clippers, Lakers, Rockets, Wolves, Portland again, Clippers, Pelicans. You have arguably, call it 3, as of right now as it stands, 3 games against playoff teams in that group. If there was a time to lose your best player, this is the kind of stretch where maybe they can still go 6-4, 7-3, maybe even better. I know they beat Oklahoma City pretty easily tonight. Sounded like Clay went retro and went for over 40 tonight.
Yeah.
So if you have those 10 games and he misses those, they might actually come out of it around the same spot they're in now, maybe a little ahead, and part of that will be scheduling, which will help. But as I mentioned earlier, I do think the Warriors might need to add a player anyway, whether or not they're fully healthy. Like a Caruso makes a ton of sense there. So they'll be a title contender because, again, you're not a title contender, or you can't. The champion has the right to defend their title. I always believe that. I do believe they'll be there, but I think the bench needs help either way. So they need Steph to get healthy, and I think they need to add a piece as it is. So that's how I see this, but at least timing-wise, I think they got fortunate.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, Sammy. And only time will tell. Hopefully Jordan Poole can get it together, man, especially late in games. And I'm going to take us actually to a break with a word from our sponsor.
NBA fans, it's time to bring the hoops action to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet $5 and win $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the app now and sign up with code TVPN. New customers can bet $5 in the NBA and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA with code TVPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
Yes, indeed. With that being said, we're going to talk about Ja Morant and his entourage and this weird laser incident. And for the sake of time, I'm going to just kind of summarize this. Basically, there was an incident with one of the Pacers teams and his family who were traveling via SUV. And apparently this SUV was slowed down and stopped by people in Ja Morant's camp or entourage. And apparently the SUV felt like they were in danger. There was a laser that was pointed at the car. And apparently one person who was present said, "We felt like we're in grave danger." And another person who's security said, "That's 100% a gun." And apparently this has been addressed. It's been brought up to the league, and from now on, I guess I think Ja Morant's entourage is actually banned now from games. And I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think of this incident? It's a little strange, but what's your guys' commentary here?
Here's another added story to the resume of why the Grizzlies are the most beloved franchise in sports right now. But I don't know.
They've been watching too much of Last of Us, dude. I think that's what happened.
Like, fellas, you gotta surround yourself with people that make you better. And this is a prime example where, like, as Dave Chappelle would eloquently say, keeping it real goes wrong. But I don't know if Ja Morant is even, like, keeping it real, to be frank. Like, he doesn't strike me one that has that history, but who am I to say that? What I do know is that he's a professional athlete that's about to get paid $200 million, that is up and coming and is starting to sell one of the most sold jerseys in the league. And you've been in the news for the wrong reasons. And recently, you just tweeted out about this incident and being really angry about how your homie is no longer allowed into games. Like, you gotta realize, man, that you're in a situation where you should feel blessed. And, like, play basketball. Can we just play basketball? Can we talk about the Grizzlies basketball play instead of this nonsense that they've been doing?
I don't think he wants to lately because they're 2-8 in their last 10, so maybe they wanted to do something else.
Dang.
I'm just keeping it real is going on.
Keeping it real goes right.
Goes right.
Yeah. John, go ahead. Do you have anything to add on
I
this?
was just gonna say I didn't know Ja Morant was hanging out with Gilbert Arenas in 2023. Is that what's happening?
Where it's going.
Must have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to add to this, but like JJ said, yeah, I mean, the company that you keep, you just got to be smart about it, and you got to Because stuff like this, man, your life can change in an instant. And I'm not gonna start sitting here preaching and trying to tell people what to do, but like that's just what's the point of this, right? I mean, like, you guys had an altercation on the basketball court. You don't like each other, but really, like, this is what you think you have to resort to? It's crazy to me, man. Like, come on. That's all I gotta say.
So John Morant's tweet that JJ was alluding to was, did an investigation, seen they were capping. Still let a article come out, paint this negative image on me and my fam, ban my brother from home games for a year. Unbelievable. And then a laughing emoji. Well, I'm glad that John Morant did an investigation. I'm going to take us to our next topic here. We're going to talk about the NBA trade deadline preview. And because this is the Clinic NBA pod, we're going to talk about our favorite teams here. Our teams, the teams we like to cheer for. And I want to ask you guys, like, with the Warriors, the Lakers, the Clippers, what are some needs and some players that you guys would like to see your team target?
Well, I'll start here. The Clippers have what has become a gaping hole at point guard. John Wall, unfortunately, hasn't worked out. He's hurt right now. Reggie Jackson's always been a shoot first guard, which has not been a problem, but they just don't need that this year, and he struggled a bit. And what's happening is Kawhi is actually playing very good ball right now. PG's back, he looks healthy, but they're initiating so much of the offense that it looks like they're wearing down in the fourth quarter. So I want to throw this stat out at you guys that one of the Clippers writers basically illustrated on Twitter yesterday. So this is the Clippers' offensive rating by quarter in Kawhi and PG lineups and what they would rank as an NBA team this season. In the first quarter, they'd be second overall. Second and third quarters, they'd be first. In the fourth, they'd be 29th. It falls, and the last three games have illustrated that. The Nets, Knicks, and Bucks games, they've had big leads in all fourth quarters. They blew the Bucks game after being up by 20. They had to go to overtime to beat the Knicks, and they hung on and beat the Nets tonight with basically a depleted roster. Cam Thomas scored like 50 points tonight. But they've got to fill that spot. The big name that they're being talked about outside of Kyrie is Fred VanVleet. And I like him a lot. I think it would cost him too much to get him. The player I actually think would fit really well, and it wouldn't be a huge splash, but I just think the fit is right, is actually Mike Conley. They just need a guy who knows how to get other guys open, won't need the ball that much himself, won't cost a lot to get because he, he's at a point in his career, he's 35, 36. Utah's obviously going younger. I think they could get him for just an expiring deal plus a pick or two, like a second round pick or two. Next year, his contract is only partially guaranteed for about $14 million. Reggie Jackson's contract and Wall's are off the books anyway if they want to go that route. So that's the hole for the Clippers. They've got to find a guard, and then they could also really use a backup big, but typically those guys you can find on the waiver wire or in a quicker deal. So I'd like to see them get both, but to me, the bigger hole right now is actually point guard.
Who would be the pieces that would be leaving?
So it seems like Kennard would be offered potentially. Robert Covington's been talked about a lot. If the player is, like, if it was VanVleet, I think Terrence Mann would be on the table, which for me, I really like he fits. He's such a good glue piece. I hope they don't trade him. But he was apparently offered for Kyrie, so he's out there in the right trade. But I think the first few pieces you're looking at are Kennard, Covington, and then they've got some younger pieces. Brandon Boston is a really intriguing young guy that I think they would offer in some picks. So I think those are the pieces. So you're not looking for a huge splash, just someone who can fit and just help run the offense.
Got you. John, what about the Lakers?
What about the Lakers? Yeah, wow. It's a loaded question, man. How much time we got? Like hour and a half? Okay.
As much time as you need.
As much time as I need. Don't say that. I might take you up on that. So I think the Lakers need another point guard so that Darvin Ham can run a five-player point guard lineup and get out rebounded by 100. No, okay. He has run 4 players at once, though. I love Darvin Ham, but sometimes he makes questionable decisions. But then again, Pelinka did only give us like 8 point guards on the team. So I do think the Lakers need, I mean, I don't even know if this is possible, but I would love Zach LaVine on the Lakers. And I know the Bulls are kind of in a free fall. They're not playing well. I don't know if they take Russell Westbrook obviously it would take more than that, maybe the first round picks. But I think getting another wing who has the potential to be a good defender in a system where Darvin Ham can emphasize that. He's 6'5". He can obviously shoot. He's another player who can. I think he can play off the ball. I think he would do great with LeBron and AD. Other than that, I mean, maybe just. I think Mike Conley was also getting floated around, like Sammy said. So if he, but again, we already have guys like Dennis Schroeder. But Conley's more smooth, and he's a better shooter, which I think would fit really well with the Lakers. Because if God knows, one thing that we need is shooting. So, other than that, I don't know what else is out there other than these names that are being floated around. I think the Lakers need more size. I think they need another center. I just don't know who would be available and what the Lakers would trade. Honestly, I'm expecting them to not make a move. Don't have high expectations. You'll never be disappointed. What is that? Is that a soup? That's from Spider-Man, right?
What do you guys think? Do you think the Lakers are gonna make a move by the trade deadline?
I think they have to make LeBron happy.
Yeah, that tweet was wild.
Yeah, we got to talk about LeBron's tweet really quick.
And that interview
is it
too.
me?
They don't have to make him happy. I mean, they should, but he's still under contract. What's funny to me is, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to overreact to it, but guys like that tweet all the time. But who knows?
Is it possible that he was just listening to like who's that artist?
Dashboard Confessional.
Maybe it's me. Any emo song from early 2000s.
Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Whoever sings that song.
I think they make a move, but it's minor. I don't think they trade.
Okay.
I don't think they trade the first. I think they trade another
Agreed.
second or two. And I mean, it seems like the Hachimura trade so far has been pretty solid. I can see them making another move like that.
JJ, what about the Golden State Warriors?
Well, Sammy touched on this, which is the perfect fit would be Alex Caruso, which, would be another version of GP2. We saw Caruso win a championship with John's Lakers back in the bubble, and this dude plays tremendous D. He knows how to get rebounds and just plays with heart. And most importantly, with the defense aspect, he could hold his ground at the point of attack. We see the Warriors time and time again that if there's a fast guard or point guard, they just get beat all the time. And I know that DiVincenzo Jun has been playing great as of lately, but I don't know. There's a stat that I know that Tim Kawakami of The Athletic wrote in regards to win shares. Dante DiVincenzo has a 2.1 win share, where GP2 and Otto Porter Jr., GP2 at 5.2 and Otto Porter at 4.9. So what's that really saying is that our bench unit hasn't been contributing. Our front office has been counting on the young guys, and Moody, Wiseman haven't been performing at all. And we just need someone to link, as I said earlier, with the old roster with the new. And I think Caruso's the perfect blend to match both, or to transition to both.
Would you take Josh Hart if you couldn't get Alex Caruso?
Oh man. Well, you tell me, sell me on it, since you've watched him as a Monday, Wednesday, Friday Blazer fan, as John eloquently says.
Before you jump in there, I will say Josh Hart is great. He's a good defender. He hustles. He can get to the rim, but he's not a great shooter. I'll say that.
Yeah, I feel like Alex Caruso would be definitely better, but I think an Alex Caruso light is kind of like a Josh Hart, and he does all the dirty work. He also is a great rebounder. I want to say he's averaging maybe 6 or 7 rebounds a game as a guard, which is great. But yeah, that the defensive stuff, and then honestly, the biggest problem with the Warriors, the distinct difference between last year and this year, is the defense has dropped off significantly. So even on games where we have Steph Curry scoring 40, with a Klay Thompson 20 and a Jordan Poole 23, we still lose these games because we can't seem to stop get stops when it's needed the most. And I think we need more defensive help. That's what I think. But anyway, I think that's all we have time for today. I want to thank you three for being on. JJ, thanks for being on, man.
Hey man, it hasn't been the five of us in a long time, and I miss all of us here together. So wanted to give a quick shout out to us five.
Shout out.
John, thanks for being on, man.
Hey, thank you. And I was kidding earlier, Sammy. Go Chiefs. Seriously, go Chiefs.
And Sammy, thanks for being on, man.
Hey man, can't wipe the smile off my face before Sunday, so apology semi-accepted.
And shout out to RJ, our video producer. Check out our YouTube channel. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Like us on our Facebook group page, the Clinic All NBA Podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Clinic All NBA. I'm Rosa Panta. This is the Clinic All NBA Podcast. Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.